Hello YouTube! Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making a bag. Oh goodness. Good girl. Today we're going to be making a leather tote. This one is actually from an order. It should be fairly simple, a lot quicker than, maybe a lot quicker than belt. I don't know, we'll see. But I've done it a few times before, comes out pretty nice. So this should be fairly simple, just 7 pieces. They're small enough where I can easily work with them on the table, which is nice, especially coming from the belt. It can get a little wonky with super long pieces you're trying to stitch, but this should be fairly simple. So let's go and start cutting some leather. So it turns out I cannot count. This is not 7 pieces, these are 9 pieces. I forgot to count the little name tag thingy, initial things I'm gonna do. So yeah, it's 9 pieces. I'm not too worried about this. This is what happens to the leather when you leave it out in the sun. It starts to tan a little, but I believe once we dye it, that should go away. It's gonna be on the bottom too and partially covered. It shouldn't be very visible. Same with all of this jazz. Should not be visible. We'll see. I might have to cut other pieces. But let's get to dyeing. So excuse the noise going on in the background. I have the windows open because this is still airing out. So these are all dyed. As you can tell, the tan marks from where it was the hide was sun bleached have pretty much disappeared. The only thing that was not intended was this little blotch right here, but should bleed out a little bit more. Should get a little lighter, and I'm not too concerned about it. I think little blotches like this and you know, imperfections on the grain give these bags a little character. At least that's my justification for it. So right now I'm going to put a little leather balm on top to help rehydrate rather the leather, because the dye, even though it is a oil-based dye, it's still it's an oil-based dye in the alcohol-based solution, something like that. So it can still dry out your leather. I'm going to use a little lotion. I'm also using that because it will darken up the leather a little bit, And this is just a little lighter than I had intended it, but I think it's gonna look nice regardless. So I'm gonna lotion it up. For those of you who are curious, as is shown throughout my last video, I am not a professional. I just kind of wing things. And this, for those of you who are wondering, is how I apply my leather balm, or leather rejuvenator. What's this called? Natural Glow Moisturizing Cream. I think this stuff is like all organic. I don't think it, hopefully it's not bad for my hands. No animal testing. Well, there you go. No animal testing, but use it on dead animal hides. No animal testing. Is using it on animal hide not considered animal testing? I feel like it's worse because they're dead. Did you know? 9 out of 10 people agree. Using a horsehair brush makes you look more official. Don't ask me what it does. But it does something. So they're all finished drying, they're lotioned. All we have to do is to put on the sheen and then burnish the edges. And today I am going to burnish the edges before we start stitching. You'll see why in a bit, but we're not going to be meeting the two ends together. We're going to be kind of like overlapping them. So got to burnish those edges before we start stitching. So we are doing a 50-50 mix of the super sheen and water, because that is what the instructions say, but mainly because I'm all out of super sheen. That's all I got left, which may be enough, maybe not. I'm gonna need definitely enough to cover the outside, and then I may or may not do the inside. I might just rub it. It shouldn't bleed too much. And if you see that splotch really evened out a lot more. So these are all sheened. I buffed them. Ran the horsehair brush over them a little bit as well, and they have a really nice shine to them. Not sure if you can see, but it's looking really good. So it's getting kind of late. All I'm going to do for tonight is clean up these edges, cut these to their final shapes, and I think I'm going to burnish all the edges tonight. Why not, right? So I'm trying out something new here. I'm going to try to burn in the initials, brand the initials. We'll see how it goes. Yeah? I think that's gonna look good. Now I'm gonna turn this off, let this cool off, switch it out with the K. So before I start actually stitching together the bag, we have this first stitch on these covers. These are covering the magnetic clasps, which are the initials of the client I'm making these for, and then the little tote handles as well. I'm not sure, I'm thinking it's going to be something like this. I might do some sort of decorative stitching. That doesn't look good. I like that more. So, start with the Elmer's glue. I measured these out. Be sure to measure and measure twice, because I had to try to fill this in. I scratched a little too far over to the left. Measure twice. You want to be careful. While rubber cement does come off, sometimes it can kind of strip the dye or the finish off of the leather. So you want to be careful. That's why you do some markings like this. You also want to scratch it up so it actually holds. No. Hello YouTube! Alright, so these are stitched on. I think they're looking really nice. All that's left to do is attach the handles. It'll be something like that. And then we can actually start putting the bag together. That should be a fairly quick process as well. Another time jump here. So it's the next day, and I'm going to start actually putting the bag together. So this is the bottom piece right here. I'm going to start by stitching together the bottom pieces, and the reason why we burnished the edges beforehand is because it's going to be stitched together like this. So the bottom of the bag is going to curl up over the sides, and you'll see once it's all done. It ends up looking really nice. So I'm doing the sides first, and then I'll do the front and back. If you can see, it's just a little easier to do the sides because they're the same width, while this back curves. This back rather is shorter. So, yep. So the two sides are all stitched together, or stitched the bottom rather, and now it's time to start stitching the front and back pieces. The way I'm going to, or the order in which I'm going to stitch this is I'm going to stitch both pieces, both front and back first, and then we're going to go work up the sides. So this would be a lot easier if you had some sort of leather, or just a leather sewing machine, stitching machine, whatever, leather sewing, what's it, but I do not. So this is how I do. It'd be a little frustrating at times trying to find the holes. You could or rather you should if you have the, what's the word? Leather punches? Leather chisels, that's the word. Glue this together and then just chisel right through them. I don't. So this is how I do. So this is all stitched up, the bottom panel. All it's left to do is just stitch these 4 corners. And again, you'll see when I start stitching, it's not going to be a normal stitch like that. These inside panels are going to be tucked in. And it comes out and looks, in my opinion, looks really good. And while we're here, you can see that splotch that was very dark when we first dyed it is very unnoticeable and looks just like a normal blemish. But I really like how this dye, with how I dyed it with the cloth, it kind of gave it like this patchy look with the grain. I'm very happy with it. So let's get to just finishing up the bag. Third day, fourth day? Fourth day. 2 sides done. 2 sides left to go. Let's do this. Okie doke, so all that's left to do is to just re-burnish these edges. I had to cut them back a little bit because they were a little long after stitching up. Just fine, just cut them back and dyed them. Now, burnish. Hey, so thanks for joining me on this quick bag build. Super fun and simple. If I wasn't such a procrastinator, it would have only taken 1 or 2 days, but I'm very happy with how it came out. If you guys like what you saw and want to see more, please sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave some suggestions as to how I can do this better or what you guys would like to see for some upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.